My guest today is Mr. Debo Adeniran, who is a renowned activist in Nigeria. Welcome to Sahara Reporter, sir.
It's my pleasure.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, so I read a press release by CACOL, Center for Anti-Corruption and Open Leadership, on judicial immunity in Nigeria. And my first question goes to you as, do we actually have judicial immunity in Nigeria? And do our judges deserve immunity?
Yes, we do. We only don't want them to extend it beyond the necessary limit. The judicial immunity is to the extent that no judge or justice can be sued on the basis of what he says while delivering his own judgment or while adjudicating to matters before him. But what we don't want them, the extent to which we don't want them to expand it to, is that we confer, criminal immunity on them. That even if they committed criminality in the course of their work, that they should not be questioned. It is not right. If they took bribe, for example, it's criminal. If they engage in fisticuffs, it's criminal. If they, all of those kind of action. If they launder money, it's criminal. All of this, they should be able to answer judicial questions on in the court of law.
By virtue of Section 6 of the Constitution, the law establishing each of courts provides that judges shall not be held liable for any act done in the discharge of their duties. In other words, judges cannot be subject to civil or criminal proceedings on account of negligence or errors.
That's exactly what I'm saying. But then they should not extend it. There's no law that says judges could take bribe. There's no law that says judges can launder money within or outside the country. There's no law that says judges should confer with a litigant before him, especially in criminal cases. There's no law that says all of that. Where the law says is that if he's in the discharge of his duty does not include taking of bribes. His duty does not include serving as an arbiter between bribe giver and bribe taker. The duty does not include, asking somebody to go and deposit money somewhere. The duty does not include transferring money, from one financial institution to another within the country or outside the country. So basically, if any judge or justice of any court engage in this, it has gone, he or she must have gone beyond his duty call, to the world of criminality.
In your press statement, you stated, and I quote, "The National Judicial Council has power to set standards and practice regulations and investigate and sanction members over professional misdemeanors."
Exactly.
But that is where it ends.
Yes.
The body does not have the power to investigate or sanction members on allegations bordering on criminal offenses.
Exactly. Now, NJC is administrative. Basically, they are supposed to oversight whatever their members, judges, justices, even magistrates are doing, the way they conduct their adjudication within their courts. If, for example, deliberately they pervert the course of justice, NJC will take it up upon them, on them and sanction them if it's necessary. If it turns out that where they should, give judgment in favor of a criminal or maybe anybody standing trial, they gave it against him deliberately, so it is the NJC that will be reported to. For example, when Kunle Kalejaye, met with Justice Thomas Naron in Osun State during the election petition tribunal sitting, and there are a number of phone call exchanges, and even text messages. It was NJC that was called upon to investigate and sanction their own members based on the allegations that there was perversion of justice. It is upon that the judge was sanctioned by NJC. But it goes beyond that when criminal activities like bribery and kickback and all of that are involved. If a judge should inflate the cost of procurement, that is if they have to engage in procurement, that is criminal. So all of this kind of criminal activity, a judge doesn't have to take money directly from the person standing trial before him. He has to recommend, if there's any fine, he has to recommend the amount of fine to be paid to appropriate quarters, not that it will pay directly, that he will pay directly to the judge. That will be criminal. So any criminal activity perpetrated by the judge, not by what he has said, okay, he can say anything in his own court. That is it. Even if he made a mistake, he has delivered a judgment. That's what that is the level of NJC that will sanction him. But when he commits criminal activity directly or by proxy, then he should be liable. He should be made to answer to such, criminal charges in the relevant court of law.
We find out the sorts of corruption going on in the judiciary is actually mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And but the question actually is that how does Nigeria arrest the level of corruption going on in the judiciary?
First and foremost, Nigerians should be more circumspect. If they are asked to pay bribe, they should pay it with some evidence, from some traces, so that it can be traced. Okay. Now that is the only way by which such bribe taker can be traced and be brought to book. Then the anti-corruption agencies should be strengthened rather than being weakened by this kind of judgment we have in appellate court. They should be strengthened further to be able to bring any corrupt judge or justice to book. They should not be restrained from gaining access to the fortress where these judges and justices live. They should be allowed, because they don't have immunity against trial when it comes to criminal cases. Their own immunity has been defined. So the anti-corruption agencies should be allowed to do their work anytime, anywhere they want to do it, as long as it is not deliberate that they want to disrupt the course of adjudication into cases in court. So that is one way. The other way is for adequate sanctions to be imposed on anybody found guilty, including judges and justices. The Supreme Court itself is fraught with a lot of corruption allegations. Now, NJC is composed of some senior lawyers and judges and those who are justices that are serving or retired in the Supreme Court. So this makes it difficult for NJC to convert itself to a court of justice. Okay? Now, what Nigerian people should do is to be vigilant. Anytime cases like this are coming up from courts, they should be there to witness what is going on. And discerning lawyers should also follow suit to ensure that they monitor every bit of hearing that is going on in court. And if anything is going amiss, they should take note of it, do a petition directly to the NJC, and copy the media. Because if you direct it only to NJC without them reading it in the media, they will only consign it into the waste paper basket. That was what we did in the case of Ibori, when his case was being heard in Federal High Court, Kaduna, before Federal High Court in Asaba. Every time we noticed that the trial judge, especially in Asaba, retired Justice Masaya Wokuleyin, was playing some games, we called the attention of NJC to it. And 4 times we wrote petition to the NJC over Justice Masaya Wokuleyin. 4 times they query the trial judge, Masaya Wokuleyin, and that was the reason why he had to step down his ruling about 3 times because that's when he said that he wanted to err on the side of caution. We did the same thing in the case of electoral petition in Osun State that involved Justice Naron. All of that have led to the discipline of the affected judges. The same thing happened to some of the lawyers, especially Michael Anduaka, who also try as much as possible to pervert the course of justice in several criminal cases. Okay, Anduaka has been brought down and his sanction has been withdrawn. So if discipline like this, if Nigerians are this vigilant and they insist on their right to fair hearing, then the NJC will have no other option but to sanction their hearing members. But cases of criminal activities of judges is beyond NJC. Okay, we don't want a situation whereby there will be a spirit de corps, among the judges and justices, and they will say that, okay, this case does not worth going to court. Yes, we are glad that Ademola's case went the way it is, when the other judge that was sanctioned that were dismissed by the NJC. That is the way it should go. But it should go beyond that. They should hand them over to the prosecutorial, to an agency with prosecutorial power, so that they will be diligently prosecuted based on the evidence that they have established. Even NJC said that there is prima facie case that have been leveled against them. So they should face that squarely and should be sure that maximum punishment is meted out on them.
We all come from different backgrounds. That's what unites us. We all know life is about freedom of choice, and money transfer should be the same way. Introducing MoneyGram My Way. Send and receive money just about anywhere, using whatever method that works best for you.
Do you think that the NBA has a role to play in checking corrupt practices by judiciary?
NBA is a professional body and they are supposed to be regulatory in the practice of law in Nigeria. Well, it is to their advantage if they play their role diligently. First, they should be sure that their members are qualified to do the job they claim they want to do. Two, they should be sure that their members are not helping criminals to evade the course of justice, and this is prevalent among Nigerian lawyers. Most of the time, it is the lawyers that will tutor their clients on what to say, even when they know that he has committed the crime. NBA should take it upon itself to sanction their members who did such kind of exercise. Now, NBA has a role if they want to retain some level or maybe carry some level of integrity for themselves to ensure that any of their members that is alleged to have carried out corruption activity is sanctioned. Their professional licenses could be withdrawn. That was what happened in the UK. If UK has been as permissive as we have it in Nigeria, Ibori may still be walking the streets, a free man without the baggage of ex-convict appellation on him. But the lawyer there knew that if he protected Ibori more than what is necessary, then he might lose his practicing license. Such a thing should happen in Nigeria too, that when you know that somebody committed a crime, don't tutor him on what to say to evade the course of justice. If they did that, then they are committing some sacrilege against the sacredness of justice. So if the course of justice is perverse, then it means that they don't have moral right to claim to be learned persons in the temple of justice. Temple of justice is supposed to be a sacred place where you don't lie, where you don't hate and abet littering or concealing information that should help Nigerian people. So the NBA should look towards integrity more than whatever they can get from their members. So they have a lot of role to play, regulatory and supervisory.
In the check, for corruption on the side of judges and those in the legal profession in general, is it the duty of law enforcement agencies like the DSS, the EFCC to arrest judges? Because sometime last year, in October of last year, we find that the NBA leadership actually did accuse the DSS of discrediting the judiciary when it ransacked the home of one of the justices, who was alleged to have been involved in corrupt practices. And the NBA leadership actually did say that the dangers of this kind of action is repellent on the history of the country. Is it appropriate that the DSS/the EFCC goes to arrest members of the judiciary?
Yes, it's appropriate. They have the powers to carry out the raid the way they have carried it out, to the extent that they don't have to inform a criminal that we are coming. Otherwise, the criminal will take care of the crimes he has committed. He will conceal all the evidence that they are looking for before the law enforcement agencies come. However, the agencies should work in concert. There should be interagency cooperation rather than interagency rivalry. It is good if the DSS feels that if they go through the process of reporting to EFCC before they did the raiding, that the information may leak into the culprits they are trying to catch, because it's supposed to be a sting operation. Now, but immediately it becomes convenient for them, they should have invited the EFCC to take over. Okay, now the way interagency cooperation should work will be that if DSS detected a crime being committed or that had been committed, and they believe that the information will not leak out to the EFCC is aware of it, they inform the EFCC or ICPC to go after that. But if it's the one they can arrest, they can hold down, they hand it over to the right person. For example, okay, let's talk about the raid. If the raid had not been carried out, these two judges that have been sanctioned by NJC wouldn't have been sanctioned, because they would have concealed the evidence against them. And you know that in Nigeria, once you are in the same court, they try as much as possible to help themselves to evade the course of justice. And this is also a country where public officials are not in a hurry to clear their names from the baggage of criminal charges. And that is why they can extend and they can ask for all of those that can delay the course of justice. So basically, if they did it, they should do it rightly, not because they want to claim the glory. They should hand over to the other agency, sister agency, that has a duty to prosecute, to investigate further and prosecute the case. If they don't hand it over, they may not have all the training that is required to detect what should serve as evidence if they claim, because CDSS are to do undercover to discover those who have committed certain crimes, but there are some extent they cannot go in discovering what constitutes economic crime, what constitutes financial crime, what constitutes fraud, what constitutes true corruption. Because when it comes to corruption in public and civil service, it is the duty of ICPC to actually work on it. If it is economic, if during the course of working on true corruption by the public official, supposing maybe a minister, a director, or a kind of permanent secretary has helped himself with so much money, okay, at that level, it can be taken as corruption. Now, at the level of utilizing the money, maybe depositing it in a financial institution, it means that the financial institution is duty bound to report to NFIU, that is Nigeria Financial Investigation Unit of the EFCC. If it had to be moved offshore, the financial institution is duty bound to report to EFCC under this SCUMO, that is Special Control Unit against money laundering. So it doesn't matter who arrested that much money, they will hand over to those who have the power to investigate further. And those EFCC will also work with NIA to detect the destination of the money that is being transferred to other countries and who are those that are involved in it. But when you have a money like the one discovered in Kaduna Airport at the check-in counter and nobody is laying claim to it, even FAAN is not cooperating to the extent of releasing the footage, because it is expected that there will be CCTV in that place. Why didn't they release the footage? Because the bags of money couldn't have gravitated towards that place on their own. So this is because there's no adequate interagency cooperation. Now, if such money was found, it is the duty of DSS to find out who brought it there and submit their findings to EFCC, because it is a economic and financial crime for so much money to be in cash, raw cash, and be found where it was found. Now, to find out those behind it, just like the one in Osborne 2 hours 2, to find those behind it is the duty of DSS. If they discover that those who brought it are no longer in the country, then NIA takes over, in collaboration with maybe Interpol or whichever agency they want to cooperate with it. Because now we have mutual legal assistance treaty with a number of countries that can help us to detect these criminals and repatriate them. But we are not getting that. Why? Because here agencies are just quarreling with each other instead of cooperating to execute the task ahead of them. In such a way, we are losing. It's Nigerians that are losing big time. So we should appeal to Mr. President, under whose offices all of these agencies are working, to harmonize their position. Anybody that is recalcitrant should be asked to step aside and bring somebody who is more level-headed, who is more amenable to correction, to come in. And there's nothing to rival about. They should take joint credit for every work that is well done.
Thank you, Mr. Debo Adeniran, for honoring our invitation. Thank you very much for the very brilliant interview.
It's my pleasure, anytime.
Thank you.
We all come from different backgrounds. That's what unites us. We all know life is about freedom of choice, and money transfer should be the same way. Introducing MoneyGram My Way. Send and receive money just about anywhere, using whatever method that works best for you.